Good morning, everybody. Betting for breakfast. I'm Mark Drumheller. I'm here with Dave Gleckner, powered by the Sharp app. College football is back, guys. We are finally hitting our stride, getting into what we love, and that's the college football scene. I can't wait to dig into it. There's so much that went on in the offseason. We're going to break it all down. So much movement with the transfer portal. We got every win total up. So we're going to just start digging into everything a little bit light week by week and, get us ready to make some money this year in college football. Dave, it's been a while. We've been kind of, making up for lost time here, talking about the USFL and a lot of different stuff that's going on. But now we're back to our roots with college football. And listen, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm excited. Back from a 2-week vacation and to dive in now. It's college football season. It's like we're hitting it full stride. So I can't wait. It's going to be here before you know it.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about. Listen, July, you're like, all right, we still got 2 months till football. Not college football. These guys start early. They start often. They're always just a little ahead of the NFL, so it gets our juices flowing. NFL starting training camp in about 2.5 weeks here. So, this is college football time, and it's good to really start getting our wheels rolling here, as they say. So we're ready for that first week. Because I remember last year we came out of the gate strong, UCLA over Hawaii and some other picks there that, if you spend the time early, it kind of reaps the rewards right as soon as the ball gets kicked into the air.
Yeah, I think so. I think it pays off early in the season. There's definitely some nice spots, and you have so much time to prep. It's not like when the season's going, you're like the hamster on the wheel. You listen, you get the opening numbers, you got to hit it, blah blah blah. Our guy Shady checking in, man. We appreciate you, brother. Back he was missing us when we were gone, dude. I was getting the DMs and the tweets. He's like, "Where'd you guys go?" But we were back. Long vacation, man. Hit Disney with the kids. Went on a cruise. Had a lot of fun, but now it's back time to get to work, man. Because like you said, it's going to be kicking off soon. And there's just a ton of player movement with the transfer portal. We're seeing college football evolve in front of our eyes, Dave. And that's really what's happening, with the transfer portal, with the movement. It's kind of changed the face of recruiting.
Oh, it definitely has. I mean, it's free agency. The college football is free agency. And it's just And soon they're just going to have 2 conferences like the NFL. So it's really just it's turned into something that I probably couldn't have predicted a couple years ago. But, for the kids to get the opportunity to get in right positions to show themselves to potentially have a career at this game, I think it's a good thing. And I think it's a good thing because back in the day, you used to have to wait out a year, right? If you transferred and all of a sudden you got, a 25-year-old senior rolling around who transferred twice. It's good. Hey, why hold them back? So it really made things interesting. The only thing I don't like is some of the tampering moves that happen probably a little bit before the season ends. But outside of that, it makes it so exciting. We were excited the other day watching NBA free agency. We were all pumped up who's going where. That's what college football is right around after bowl games. So I think it's pretty cool, but we've probably forgot some of those key moves since it's been 4, 5, 6 months.
Yeah, definitely. So that's what we're going to do this episode, guys. We're going to just do a quick refresher on some of the high impact moves that we saw at the transfer portal and, how that's going to impact their team, kind of where they sit with the win totals, right? So, that we're really going to do that. We'll get into some Heisman stuff a little later in the episode, but just kind of, a light conversation just to kind of get back into the swing of things with college football and some early looks and maybe some teams you want to take advantage of from a futures perspective. Some of the teams that we like, some we don't. But Dave, there was no bigger splash. And this is really the move that put everything in motion when we talk about the chaos that was the college football offseason. And that was Lincoln Riley packing it up and heading out to USC to Southern California and, taking Caleb Williams with them, getting Jordan Addison in the transfer portal, right? Really, changing the whole landscape of college football because that was the domino that dropped. And then, everything kind of fell after that. So I want to talk about that team first because I think that this is a situation that bettors should have their eye on because it's your classic, a lot of hype, a lot of, and it's warranted, right? We know what Lincoln Riley's done. We know his resume, but are we getting a little bit too excited about USC? So I want to talk about first a little bit about Caleb Williams, and then kind of like what we can expect from this Trojan team. Our guy Daryl checking in. We are going to finish this segment today, Daryl, with an MLB play from Dave. So hopefully, you can kind of pop that one in your parlay or something. So. We're going to do a little college football. Dave, you got some baseball later on?
I do. I actually have a parlay. So,
all right. Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. So stay tuned, Daryl. We're going to have that at the end of the show. We're going to wrap it up, but with Dave's baseball play. But listen, let's get into it. So Lincoln Riley, Caleb Williams, USC. I think it's a very interesting situation. They go and get Jordan Addison from Pitt, the Blitnikoff winner. They are, they're going to be a dynamic offense. We know what Lincoln Riley brings. But, do you think that's enough, Dave? When I look at the win total and just kind of like, are they going to be off and running the first year with Caleb Williams? They have a 9.5 win total, 9.5 wins. So ultimately, they have to go 10-2 to cash. What are your thoughts just in general in not only Lincoln Riley moving to USC, let's start with that, but bringing Caleb Williams, because Caleb Williams was a guy, a lot of hype at Oklahoma. When they benched Rattler, it was like, hey, Caleb Williams to the moon. And then all of a sudden you got rabbit ears, right? It didn't turn out that way. David Aranda had something to say with that in Baylor. And, do we expect this kind of leap from Caleb Williams? And what should we expect realistically in the first year from Riley and Williams at USC?
They went 11-2 last year, and you mentioned some of their, the guys that kind of clipped them, guys that play a more physical, aggressive style, kind of press these guys on the sideline, just give them all that disruption that they don't like, and it really didn't help Caleb Williams either. I saw him make some really poor decisions. Now, granted, he was a young kid, right? He was a freshman last year, and I don't think he was ever expecting to be thrust in that situation with Spencer Rattler's surprising demise. So I do think he handled himself very well.
Demise is a great word to use. He went from Heisman to dead
and I'll still stand here today and tell you, and I was never a Rattler guy, and there was just something about. Now I do think he can rebound, but we can talk about that in a little bit. But for Caleb Williams to kind of surge that high and now all of a sudden be the biggest name on the transfer portal and this, that, and other. I tell you, I kind of like Keaton Slovis, and I know where he headed, and we can talk about him as well. And I like some of the other pieces they had there, but I understand Lincoln had to get his guy. What I think happens when you get your guy, and you alluded to it earlier, now the expectations double, right? If Lincoln Riley would have sat there and played a little bit with USC's roster, they might have given him a year to shake things out. Not now. You just brought in the guys. The guy from Pittsburgh, like you said, Addison came over, right? It's the foot on the gas pedal, and you better win 11, 12 games. I think that's going to be a lot to ask the first season. He's not sure, you got to get your patterns right, where you fly, when you get into town, what's the best practice facilities. There's a lot of little things that are going to be encompassing Lincoln Riley's time. And then all that pressure on top, I think that win total is a little much for me to go over right now. I do think they're in a great situation in that conference. I do think they're the alpha dogs right now. But they still got Notre Dame on the schedule. There's a lot for me to go over. I'm not ready to do that.
I just think 9.5 is a little high, and it's juiced. I mean, it's juiced to the over.
Definitely.
Like you can get the under 9.5 at plus 120, which I think is a pretty good look. I didn't bet it. I didn't hit the win totals yet, so I'm not out here giving personal bets and moves that I made. But in looking at it, like minus 140 to the over, plus 120 to the under at 9.5 seems steep. And like, listen, they're the cream of the crop, in that conference. Like I get it, you know what I mean? But this is not a team that I think this is a lot of changes. And you brought up their schedule, and I think that's an interesting point, because if you look at their road games, they got a road game at Utah, which I don't think they're going to win. Like I love Utah this year again. They get everybody back on offense. The defense, is the
Plus Devin
patchwork,
Lloyd.
right?
Yeah,
But that's the same. It's the same issue that USC has. Like
yeah.
USC, they're not going to have a defense this year. You know what I mean? So it's going to be a lot of pressure on Caleb Williams. So they got to go to Utah. You know, they got to go to what is it, Oregon State? Which, listen, not a powerhouse, right? But you know, tough road game, I think.
Getting
you
better.
know? And yeah, they're getting better. They're going in the right direction. And then they finished the season at UCLA and you know, home against Notre Dame. And I think that's a tough way to end the year. So I think like there are 4 games right there that I think could be tough. You know, if they lose 3 of those games, and you know, like in order for them to go 10-2, they got to win 2 of those games and they got to go perfect. Like they can't like have that typical USC letdown game that, you know, we're used to. So I don't know. I think I just think it's a lot for Caleb Williams in year 1. This is a ton of pressure.
It is. And I mean, there's a sneaky game early in the season. Yeah, Rice is trash, but let's talk about Shady's boys, Fresno. I mean, they come in just they're ready.
I looked at that game. Yeah, I'll probably bet the over already.
Yeah. I mean, a team that comes in fully loaded, ready to upset someone once, twice every single season. Now with all that, you know, propaganda on the back of USC, I mean, that's a game they've already circled and they're ready to attack.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think, you know, I'm adding that to the 4-game mix of games that you have to win that are coin flip-ish.
Tough games. So yeah,
5 coin flips. You got to win 3 out of those 5 and then clean the schedule the rest of the way. I do think it's just tough to ask. Now, like you said, I'm not betting that yet. Our official bets will come out as we go on and dissect the conferences. But as we sit here in early July and understand the magnitude of expectations, I think that's going to be probably one of the bigger things that's going to be a challenge for USC.
I think so too. I really do. I think the under's the look there, plus money getting the 120. I always like plus money, but you know, but listen, at the 9.5 is high. Like I think like 8.5 is a much better number for this team. I just don't know if it's going to be clicking right away. Like it might take some time. There's a lot of new pieces and they have no defense. They can't stop anybody. So not 100% sold on USC being, you know, a 10-win top 5 team, you know, something like that. You know, I don't know if that's in their future, but you know, the other big move, and this is kind of like the domino effect, right? Lincoln Riley packs up, he goes to USC, and Oklahoma, you know, comes in and they bring in Dylan Gabriel, quarterback, to, you know, take over. And he's kind of, I think he was committed. Didn't he commit to UCLA and then he kind of switched gears? I think he was committed and then he switched gears and then decided like, hey, you know what, I'm going to OU now that started opening up.
Well, I think
they got Levy.
Yeah, I think he was gone by the time the season ended. You know, and I think he was, you know, had most of his feet in the water in UCLA, but he didn't see the Lincoln Riley thing happening. So I think, I think you're right.
Yeah, but you know, Oklahoma, again, another team, a lot of change, right? You know, they bring the new coach in. They got Dylan Gabriel, the new quarterback. Their win totals at 9. And, you know, like I think that they might be in a better position in the Big 12 to make an impact than, you know, USC. I think the expectations for USC when we look at these two moves is like Oklahoma flying a little bit under the radar, USC getting all the hype. But 9, I think, still, again, a big number, you know, minus 125 to the over, you know, 105 to the under. The Big 12 can get tough, man. Like there's a lot of, you know, good teams, you know, Baylor, you know, Texas, obviously, you know, hoping to get better. A lot of people thinking Texas is back. They're going to be back when Archie Manning gets there, but we're going to talk a little bit about them and whether they're back right now. And, you know, they got Baylor in the schedule. They got Oklahoma State. They got all those teams are at home, though, when you look at their schedule. And I think that that's probably why you see this number up at 9. Yeah,
I'm getting 8.5 here.
Okay. So it's got that down a little bit.
That's on DraftKings right now, and the over is actually juiced lightly at minus 105. So you know, rolling into this, I am definitely more tempted to take the over here. And you mentioned probably the biggest reason is their tough games are at home, but let's also talk about their 2 non-conference games to open the season are UTEP and Kent State. So we just talked about USC's non-conference. Notre Dame's one of them. Fresno is one of them.
Right, right.
UTEP and Kent State. Like, all right, we're 2-0 to start. So now we just got to get 7 out of the next. They play 13. They play 12. So we got to get 7 out of the next 10. And you mentioned it. The 2 toughest games are actually Oklahoma State, Baylor, both in Oklahoma.
Right.
Red River rivalry is always tough. So there's 3 coin flips, but you're playing 2 at home. I like it. I think Oklahoma's got a good chance here. Venable comes in. What's been the biggest probably disappointment we've seen with Oklahoma over the past few seasons?
Lincoln Riley taking it to USC, the defense, right?
Defense. And we mentioned it earlier. Baylor had their number, and some other teams like Oklahoma State played them tough because they were more physical, right? That's not going to happen under Brett Venable, the Clemson defensive coordinator. So I think he's going to bring a little edge to them, a little toughness that, instead of this, run and gun style and beat you 60-40, I think he's going to try and pack this in a little tighter. And I think it's going to be a different Oklahoma team than people have seen in the past. As far as Dylan Gabriel goes, I'm torn there. A couple years ago looked great. A guy that was so dynamic. You can move him. He was great on the run, move him in and out of the pocket, really strong arm. But he fell off last year, and I was disappointed in some of his decision-making. So we'll have to see. But the good news is he's being reunited with Jeff Lebby. It was his offensive coordinator.
Right, it's Levy. That's the big deal. Yeah, so that's the thing, man.
I'm leaning towards that he's going to be somewhat of his 2020, 2021 self. He got injured late 21. So I think I would lean over here. I think they're going to be a little bit better than USC.
Yeah, 8.5. I definitely like the over. I think the 9's tough. I don't know if they're going to win 10 games, but 8.5, I definitely like the over. I would hit that. What's the juice on that? What's the
minus 105?
That's not bad. Yeah,
and
that's not
115
bad.
for the under.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I know. I like them. And he's talked about it. The non-conference, the early season stuff, you can kind of get your legs under you, right? You talk about continuity and, new staff and new stuff. They have a couple weeks to kind of build to that, right? And, the way the schedule allows it, like, everyone's talking about, like, I think it's week 3 or week 4 against Nebraska. And it's like, Nebraska. No one's worried about Nebraska, man.
He loses every game that's close.
Yeah. Like, the real game, I think, is the following week they play K-State or, they got some, or TCU or somebody like that. That's like really, I feel like when they're TCU. So TCU sneaky team this year, man. I think there's going to be value on them early in the season.
I'll tell you, a team out in the Big 12, watch out for Kansas. It sounds funny, and I'm not saying they're going to win more games.
It does.
But they're on the way up, man. They are on the way up. They played really well at the end last season. Brought in that coach that was a Division III just winner, then won in Buffalo. He's changed some culture over there. I think there's a chance that they're going to be a sneaky cover team and going to play teams tough. I think they lost like 71-70 to Texas, something crazy, or they beat them 7.
They won that game. They won that because it was like, oh my God, it was like Texas. Like, what are they doing? And then all of a sudden, it's funny. The end of the year, like, stock's so down on Texas, and then they bring in Ewers, they get Manning to commit, and it's all, the whole thing changed.
It does change. But the Big 12, what you were saying, I think they're going to have some decent teams at the bottom that aren't going to just be roadkill anymore. So.
Right. Well, you look at TCU, right? And, Patterson's out, right? Sonny Dykes is in. The offense is going to be better. It's going to be more up-tempo. And the defense, for whatever reason, was not good last year. It was awful under Patterson, and that's usually been their MO. So you would expect to see some type of improvement there. Dykes brought in a defensive coordinator. I forget who it is now off the top of my head.
My bad. Oklahoma.
It's a good guy, though. It was a good get. And I don't know. But listen, anyone knows, drop it in the comments. But listen, I think TCU's defense is going to be better. I think especially early in the season, they're gonna be a good look. But
real fast, Oklahoma's 9.5. I was looking at Oklahoma State.
Oh yeah. I thought that was. I was like, man, I'll take that. Like, especially with even money. So bumped up to 9.5 now. That's kind of betting it up. 10-win team possible. No. Don't love it. Probably a pass for me. Like, not going to bet the under, but probably a pass.
Yeah, it's more. It's a pass at 9.5 for me. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, couple other, smaller level, maybe more popular, high profile situations. Lane Kiffin loses Matt Corral to the draft. It goes out and gets a whole new team in the transfer portal. The Lane train never stops, baby. He
It
never
doesn't.
stops recruiting. So they brought in, a ton of guys, the whole new wide receiving core, tight end. They got that guy Trigg. They got a ton of guys they brought in. It's going to be exciting, but I have some concerns, and we'll have to see. I shouldn't say concerns, but I think the real big question mark with this team is the quarterback that they transferred in. Right, the dominoes dropped. We talked about that. Lincoln Riley takes Caleb Williams to USC. Dylan Gabriel goes to OU to replace Caleb Williams, and Jackson Dart from USC goes to Ole Miss. And he's going to try and be quarterback at Lane Kiffin's prolific offense. And their win total is at 7.5, juiced pretty high to the over. Minus 175, I saw at BetMGM. Obviously, shop around with these prices, right? You go to the Sharp app. It'll give you all our favorite sports books. But make sure you're getting the best prices out there. But Ole Miss, I think the schedule's a little tough to run to the over. Like, I love Lane Kiffin, but they got to play at LSU. They got to play at A&M. They got to play at Arkansas, which, Arkansas obviously not the same as those other two, but not a team you can sleep on. And, home game against Bama, that's kind of like a waste of a home game.
Right?
Yeah. So I don't know. Mississippi State, they get that matchup tough. It's another one that I think is don't love it on either side. Don't love the over, don't love the under. A lot of question marks. What are your thoughts on Jackson Dart? And, is Lane Kiffin without Levy, is he still going to be able to keep the train moving?
Yeah, I mean, I like Dart's athleticism, but listen, you're making a huge jump up in class here, going from the Pac-12 and those Arizona State, Arizona, teams, and even Oregon. And I'm not in love with Jackson Dart going to the SEC. Last year, he threw 9 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 61% completion percentage was okay. But, in Lane's offense, it's got to be a little higher because he's that type of guy. He's just he wants to get these balls out quick. Matt Corral ended with almost a 70% completion percentage at Ole Miss. So you're looking at, almost 10% different. That's a big deal in Lane's offense. So I have my concerns, and it's all circled around that quarterback situation. Now, I will say that I probably had those same concerns with Matt Corral when Lane Kiffin came in. I wasn't sure he could be that guy either, but he turned out to be that guy. In the end, I think 7.5, we're asking a lot here. I think he's going to be –
yeah.
I think he's going to be in a lot of tough situations. Early on, okay, we got some decent games with Central Arkansas, Georgia Tech, and Troy. Okay. Tulsa even, we'll see. But
the season don't really start until like Halloween for them.
Well, yeah, so it's 4-0. It's possibly 4-0, and you're sitting there like, I just got to get 4-4 the rest of the way. Tell me where the next 4 are. Kentucky was really good last year, and they got
going to be better.
Yeah, they got the kid that's one of the Penn State transfer, Will. What's that?
Levis.
Yeah. At Vandy. Okay, they can probably get that one. But who knows about Auburn, LSU, A&M, Bama, Arkansas? Those 5 in a row are just.
That's what I mean. It's tough, and it's all at the end. It's packed in there. I love Lane. I'll be rooting for him, but just not going to put my money there this year. It doesn't look like. Daryl checking in, man. NC State Wolfpack he wants to talk about. This is one of the hottest teams out there. A lot of people getting a lot of steam with NC State, and for good reason, right? You look at Devin Leary, Heisman candidate, really efficient, right? Doesn't really get the ball vertical, but really wasn't asked to do that in that offense. But the real story of this team is defense. They were one of the best, at least top 15 defense in the country, last year, and they get everybody back. So, the whole band is back together. This is a team that we were on last year early, Dave, if you remember. And what was the one? I want to say it was Mississippi State was the one game they really let me down.
And it was an SEC game, and
they were doing all that like.
They went for it on 4th down with like a Philly special,
and they did like a quarterback, like Leary like pitched it to the running back, and he threw some goofy pass, and I'm like, what are you guys doing with my money? Like, what are you playing with my money like this for? Like, it was unbelievable. But listen, they're back, and they got a ton of experience. A lot of people love them. Listen, I think NC State's a play-on team. I like them. We'll talk about the Heisman in a little bit. but we could probably transition over to that after this one. But yeah, the Wolfpack, a lot of people are on the Wolfpack this year. And they can make a lot of noise, I feel like. So they're definitely a strong team this year. And it's really the experience, the returning production that they have that's really going to make the difference
Yeah,
with them.
yeah, it's been like unfortunate because I think they have like 4 or 5 straight years of 8+ wins, but they're always on the one side of that conference that you got the Giant. And last year was the year the Giant actually rolled over, and it was their year that they could have had a chance to get to the ACC championship game, which is
Yep.
elusive to them. But I could see them this year, and talking about that Giant Clemson, I could see NC State and Clemson having a really good battle throughout the whole season. I think NC State is that good. You mentioned the defense returning 8 of 11 starters. I think they're going to be tough. If I had to weigh on it, they might be one of those teams when we look at the ACC. I could be leaning towards over, but like you said earlier, a lot of steam on them. They're a sexy pick.
Mm-hmm.
Especially bringing back a lot of the pieces from last year. That was a very good team. It was Mississippi State, by the way, 24-10. Because I remember I took that game too. I loved them.
I was so mad at that game. I was so mad.
Yeah,
but
Leary, yeah, like you said, a quarterback guy. I think you got some good value in NC State there. Really, really good value. I think they're going to be good.
Yeah. So Leary, I think right now he's like 80-1 to win the Heisman. Let's talk about some of the Heisman bets. Obviously, CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, top of the board. Everybody expects those guys to win, but there's a couple names out there I wanted to throw off you, and one that we'll start with Leary. Let's start with Leary because we're already talking about him. There's a couple guys. We'll do it this way, Dave. There's a couple guys out there with some big numbers. I'm going to throw. We'll grade them like this. So, you can get Gabriel right now, right?
Yeah.
Do we know with Levy's offense at 30-1? You can get Hartman and you can get Leary 80-1, right? Now, Hartman, we know, I'm a huge Sam Hartman guy, right? He really changed the trajectory of Wake Forest last year. They scored a ton of points. It was overs to the moon with that team every single week. I remember when they played North Carolina, I was on vacation just watching that game going nuts.
Army was another one.
Army, right? The Army game. Yeah, it's just so much fun. Such a fun.
Until the conference championship, and the guy throws 6 picks like he did the year before against Wisconsin. So you can be a Hartman guy, but I'm a little concerned. I wouldn't.
Well, I think I faded him in the conference championship. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
But I did.
You did.
Yeah, but because they knew like that pressure up the middle was going to give him problems. But they regardless. So those 3 guys, right? Gabriel 30-1, Hartman, Leary. If you had to pick kind of like a dark horse in that range, like, what are we looking at? Is there somebody else out there you think that outside of the, Caleb Williams, the CJ Stroud, the, obviously the Bryce Young, those guys are like the front runners. Out of that, like little bit of a long shot or second tier, anyone you think that catches your eye?
Yeah, I mean, I think you brought up a good name in Gabriel because I do think he, at 30-1, I think there is good value there. You know where he's going, you know who he's playing with. I think that's good. I would be interested at looking at a guy. I know it's crazy and it's a little bit way out there, and a guy that they'll never ever vote for. But a guy in Cam Rising, I will be interested to see because a team like Utah, I mean, this is a team that. I mean, we watched the Rose Bowl. We watched some other things.
They belong.
They belong, man. And if they somehow sneak to 12-1, he's going to be a guy like Kenny Pickett, in my opinion. That kind of rises up out of nowhere and gets an invitation there. Can he win it over the big guys? Maybe, maybe not. But at 80-1, that's worth it. Getting you a seat at the table. I'm only sitting there 1 out of 5. So Cam Rising, I kind of like. I know Jerkovich, I like a little bit, but I just don't think the team's going to be good enough. I don't think they put up enough offensive stats. And then when you got back up to the top there, everybody loves some Bijan Robinson. I get it. He's great, right? But do you see a running back winning it with all these good quarterbacks? So I say no.
I do. It's not Bijan Robinson. But
let's go then.
Let me throw a name. Travion Henderson, Ohio State.
Yeah, well, they're a team that will run the ball, especially if they get up big early, and then he can put up some tremendous numbers. He could. But
If there is a running back, I think it's going to be Henderson.
Yeah, okay.
Like,
I'm with you there.
I think in order to win, I could be wrong, but like I think he has that like dynamic playmaking ability that is going to get a ton of attention during the year.
So for me, it's Bijan, and the only reason I'll say that is, I mean, you got to go for 2,000 yards. I mean, that's just the bottom line. You just got to put up these ridiculous, video game stats. And if I'm banking on a guy to do that, I'm banking more on a guy that probably has an undefined quarterback position. We know they have a couple guys and, decent talent. Ewers went there, but what do we know, right? And, you're not going to see Arch yet. But, yeah, Travion could. I just worry that he steals stats from CJ. Like, that's I guess,
right. Yeah. Is this going to be enough to go around? They might score 80 points a game, that team.
No, and well, if that's the case, they're both there on Heisman Saturday.
I'm telling you, man. Like, I think Ohio State is going to be back in a very, very big way. They went and they got the defensive, the guy from Oklahoma State, Knowles, to come in and do the defense, and that's really the key to them. But yeah, I think I don't know. I mean, Heisman, it's always fun to track during the year, and what's his name? Anthony Richardson. Did I got it right? The guy from Florida.
Guy? Yeah.
I think that he's live.
Cunningham out of
Malik Cunningham. I love at Louisville. Yeah.
Yeah.
Video game numbers.
It's gonna be tough. Alabama's won the past two, right? You got Mac Jones and Bryce won it last year.
No, you got Bryson
Jones. Mac Jones.
Was it Jones?
No, it was Devontae. It was Devontae. That's what it was.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Yeah, yep. Yeah, they won the last couple. So I mean, you got to give Brian Robinson or Will Anderson some looks, but I don't like that there. So I think I don't think it's Stroud or Young. I'll just be honest with you. I think they're going to put up really, really, really good numbers, but they just have really, really, really good teams. And it could be someone else that just puts up a historic season. That's what I'm thinking.
I agree. I mean, I love Young, but back to back is tough.
They don't like to vote back to back.
Yeah, they don't like to do that. And I think he's going to be a great NFL player too. Like Bryce Young. Like I'll be excited to see what team gets.
He's got this. I love.
He's got what he showed in the national championship in the playoffs last year, like, and during the season, like that offensive line sucked. And like he was able to kind of get it done, show the poise, that sort of thing. And listen, I was on Georgia. I'm happy the way it turned out. But Jameson Williams doesn't get injured, man, and it might be a different story, dude. It might have been a different story. I might not be sitting here with a smile on my face right now.
Well, they came out early, and I got worried for sure because I was all Georgia too, and it looked like Bama was the better team until that happened. I agree.
Yeah. Anyone else out there, Heisman-wise, taking a peek at that we think we should look at? I'm trying to think of some of the big schools, the big names.
Yeah, I mean, I can't do DJ from Clemson just because how bad and disastrous he was last year. Stinks, right? And he just, even if he does well, I think.
Do you think he makes it through the year? I'm being honest. I'm being serious. Like, if they start losing games, I don't know what their schedule's like, but if they start losing games, they got to hook them.
Yeah. I don't know. I think he will be better. I really do. That's just the Dabo style. I do think he is able to get the best out of his athletes. I think he'll be better, but I just think being so bad for a year and a half will kind of hang over you even when you're up there in the Heisman. The one that I think has great value, and I think you're with me on this one, is Bo Nix, right?
He's in Oregon now, right? Didn't he go to Oregon?
Yo, light your money on fire if you're betting.
Yeah.
Actually, send it my way. I'll give you my Venmo.
I'll hold it for you. Yeah, taking all the Bo Nix Heisman futures. We'll send you the Venmo. Oh, Jesus. Yeah, dude. What are they doing with
they did it with
I don't know.
Anthony Brown, right? They took from Boston College. I don't know why they're not homegrown.
They can't get it right.
Yeah.
They can't get it right. Well, they got Lanning there now, right?
Yeah, because Cristobal ran to Miami, right?
Miami. Yeah. A lot of Van Dyke's another one, right? So a lot of people think he's sneaky Heisman. Van Dyke.
Yeah, people are talking him in the first round, NFL. So, yeah.
Yeah. He's got NFL traits.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah.
A lot of hype down there in Miami. A lot of hype.
Mitch Trubisky. So, I mean, we're good. Yeah.
I'll take Bryce Young. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah.
But all right, so let's wrap things up. The Heisman stuff we talked about. Bijan Robinson to Texas. Daryl checking in. I think you spoke about that, right? You like
Yeah,
him?
and I
You think
do.
good Heisman
I'm
looks?
telling you, he's the one. I would lean towards at running back, and 20-1 is not bad value. I might sprinkle a little. I just think he's just going to be a workhorse. And that Big 12, that defense, we said it's getting better, but the defense in that conference is still not great outside of Baylor and OK State.
Yeah. So next week we'll talk more about some specific teams as far as a win total perspective and what we liked. But I just, with so much movement this week, I just wanted to kind of get those kind of, big ticket names and teams, out there, kind of talk about a little bit. We wanted to get Texas in there, more Texas this week. We didn't. Maybe we can talk about them next week. But let's wrap things up, David. On the diamond, I know you're doing a lot of great work for Win Daily, making people a lot of money. But let's sprinkle some over here on the Sharp app, and give the people your baseball play of the day. You got a parlay cooked up, right?
I do have a parlay cooked up. I'll give one, by itself. But I mean, there's just two teams out there in the early slate, and I'm saying that before 4:00. Not a lot of night games tonight. That are just heavy favorites. And I'm telling you, if you bet dogs this year, you've been really good, especially of late. Pittsburgh beating the Yankees and the Dodgers. You just had a lot of value on dogs, but I can't get off these two. They're both very high favorites, but to me, if we pack them together, we get a -115 parlay. I'm going to go with the Houston Astros at the A's. Astros playing really great baseball, but more importantly, Framber Valdez. I mean, he had 2 straight starts there just before his last, where he had 27 Ks in those 2 starts. He's been on fire. A's stink. 30th offensively in batting average, WOBA. They just don't hit the ball. And then even last night when they throw out one of their better pitchers against Houston and Urquidy, they couldn't hang in there. I think Houston, listen, they hadn't. It's like the Phillies. They didn't get to play the Nats much, and now they're starting to. Houston hasn't played the A's yet. It's time to. It's feasting time. They're going to have the A's 15 more times over the next 2 months. So I just think they're just going to. Houston's a winner, and they have that type of blood, and I think they're going to pound them today. They're going to beat the A's pretty bad, but I'm not willing to put the -315. So I'm going to parlay them up with the Atlanta Braves. Okay, Patrick Corbin's been better lately. Yeah, a little bit. But the Braves just mashed lefties. I think this is a perfect opportunity. They mashed Fedde last night when Fedde came out and was pitching well for his last 4 straight. They're going to mash Corbin too. Another feasting time. Kyle Wright has been good. He's like second in the league in wins. He's just been a solid starter. The Nats look like they just don't want to be there, and it's only July. That's usually a sign of teams in September, but the Phillies just beat them up. They were throwing out position players at pitcher. Soto is back in the lineup, had a home run last night, but I'm still not worried. I think the Braves score enough. I think if we can parlay those two, -115, let's go Braves, Astros. And then I'll give you one going out. I really like Cleveland today. The Guardians, they've been up and down, but they're still in the race there for the division lead. They're just trailing the Twins. I think it's by 3.5 or 4.5 now, 4.5. And they throw out one of their better pitchers today, Tristan McKenzie, and they get to go against one of my favorites to beat up, Jonathan Heasley from the Royals. You're getting -130 on the money line. I think we have a decided advantage in the pitching in that game. Royals came back last night, 1-1 late. So that's my only concern about the energy, but I think McKenzie can bring that energy early. Guardians score early on Heasley. Jose Ramirez had a homer off Heasley just in their last outing when they faced him. So they've seen this guy. They've hit this guy. I'll take the Guardians -130.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Take that stuff to the bank. Our boy Shady checking in. He's our guy from the West Coast, man. Says Oakland's terrible. He knows, dude. He knows all about the Bay, man. Oakland is bad as it gets. Move that team to Vegas, baby. Put them under the lights. Move that team to Vegas. And listen, we appreciate all you guys checking in. Daryl, there's your MLB plays. Heisman long shot, Sean Tucker. I love this stuff, dude. I love when you guys drop these bets in the comments because, Syracuse is a team I was looking at. And where we agree, Daryl, is that he's going to have to run for even more than that this year.
Oh, man.
They got, they brought in the transfer quarterback,
thank God.
Cassadell Wilson or whatever. And but they don't, Garrett's not a good quarterback. So they don't, I think they're going to struggle from the quarterback position. So he's going to have to carry that offense, man. And, it could be a good look, Heisman long shot. I just don't think that team's going to be good enough. Like, that's the challenge is, are the voters going to give it to a team that, isn't really like high profile team, year after year, it's just becoming more about the cream of the crop.
Yeah, got to go for like 3,000.
Yeah, he might with that quarterback situation in Syracuse, but
it's a shame because Syracuse was like that team we loved betting 2 years ago, and last year it's the team we love betting against. They just what's it, Dino Favors or something like that?
Yeah, and the quarterback situation, or was it Schrader? I was calling. Is it Garrett Schrader?
He couldn't throw it all. But he looked like Ryan Fitzpatrick. He was trying to like be a fullback.
Like, he had like 3 out of his last like 5 games. I want to say his completion percentage was like 40% or less.
Yeah.
It's like incredible. Like, how do you win that way? You know what I mean? So,
well, that's all they could do. Like, at that point, they're just like, all right, let's just run it. Yeah.
Shady checking in UFC stuff. All the UFC stuff's loaded on the Sharp app, guys. Go out and check it out. Hop into Discord. Let's sweat it out. Shady likes Lawrence tonight. Not a bad look. I looked at that fight. Did not bet it, to be honest with you. I am with you on the pretty one, the pretty guy. We're taking him tonight. So we're gonna hopefully have a good night in the UFC as well. But guys, we will be back next week. More college football. We're gonna get into more team specific stuff next week, and as we get closer to the season. So I want to talk a little bit about Nebraska and Tennessee. There's some teams I'm kind of eyeing up that I think that are going to be really interesting this season. So we'll talk about that next week. Come back, join us. We appreciate all your support. Hit the like and subscribe button, and we will be back next Saturday morning. Until then, cash all the bets, make all the money. So we'll be back next week, with our pockets full like we like them. But appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll see you. Download the Sharp app, and let's have a great college football season. I'm Mark Drumheller. This is Dave Gleckner. We're finally out of here. See you guys.